Take 1,000,000,003. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to talk about, oh wait, now that I turned up the brightness, it looks hella ghetto in my background. You know what? I guess that's okay. A little lower. Is this good for the thumbnail? Like, does this help? Okay, I'm gonna get myself demonetized. Is this enough? Hopefully it's enough. Oh my god, make your video, make your points. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I don't know about you, but I'm not sure what a real job is. Today we are going to talk about jobs, employability, and what to do when AI takes your livelihood away. I'm only kidding a little bit. So long ago, in a land not too far away, there was a woman, and she got a job that she once thought was her dream job, and she was so super excited for many reasons, but primarily because it was a job that allowed her to be creative, and thus far, creative jobs seem to be one of the few things that were saved from automation. Seemed was a good word. The title of this video is Dr. Computer Love and How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love AI. Well, you see, when people used to ask me what I thought about AI and if I was worried about it, I honestly would be like, no, it's fine. AI is one of those things that at this point isn't good enough to do creative work, and you know, it's fine. And I honestly was learning to use it to help me do my job quickly. If I wanted little thought starters or simple videos or not simple videos, simple text and simple copy to. All right, I'm not sure if this video is going to be interesting or just sad, but I lost my job due to AI, got hired at an AI company just as a freelancer, and then I went back to the strip club, which I didn't think I'd have to do since, I graduated and I now have a master's degree. I have a quick question for you. What is a real job? What would you consider a real job? How does it depend on money? Does it depend on the type of work you're doing? Does it depend on the amount of hours you're putting in? Does it mean, is it real if you're passionate about it? Is it real if it's not creative? Is it real if it's not quantitative? I asked a lot of my friends this question, and I got a lot of different responses. And I know everyone's favorite sexy socialist, Hasan Piker, recently came under fire for talking about his job and comparing it to a real job or maybe a non-traditional or more traditional job. Some consider, real jobs civilian jobs, quote unquote, things that normal everyday people do. For example, teachers, mechanics, even doctors, lawyers, blue collar, white collar, that's a real job. Anything outside of that, say in entertainment, in media, that's what a lot of people would consider is not a real job. Nightlife, club work, bar, those aren't real for some reason. So it makes me wonder, what about a everyday 9 to 5 makes a job real? Working at a nightclub, or being a bartender, or being a waitress, or being an actor or actress. Is it the money? Is it the perceived time or the effort you're putting in? To be honest, it seems like no one really has a set, solid answer. And forgive me if this seems lazy, I don't think there is a solid definition of what makes a job real to certain people. I'm going to show my bias here. In my opinion, a real job is anything that you do for money that, helps you survive in this capitalist society. So if you're a sugar baby and you have a few clients and they see you, yeah, that's a real job. If you're a bartender and you make decent money some nights and some nights not so much, that's also real. If you're an actor and you're getting booked on the biggest TV shows and the biggest movies, real job. If you're an actor and you're kind of struggling to make, pay rent and bills are due, And sometimes you get booked on Broadway shows, and sometimes you have to go without lights for a few weeks. Or a few months actually. That's still a real job. It seems like people only throw that phrase out when they want to insult someone, or when they want someone to behave in a way that they think is acceptable. When Jason Nash was complaining and bitching about, I shouldn't say that, when Jason Nash was begging TikTok teenagers for money, that isn't really considered a real job, because he wasn't really making content and then profiting off that content through sponsorships or ad revenue. He just, was just asking for money. So I think in that sense, just asking for money is not a real job, but doing something and then getting paid for that something, that's real. Brooke Shatterfield said that Matt Rife would say her job wasn't real, or she's never had a real job, because she mostly, is a podcaster, influencer, model, etc. So being pretty and being paid to post, an ad on Instagram isn't real. And I think that's only considered not real because pretty girls get to do it. And I do think, I'm showing my bias here, there's a thin vein of misogyny, not a really thick vein, a very thin, wimpy vein that tries to tell people how to behave and how to live, and why certain things aren't valid. For some things, that if a guy can do it, or if it's perceived as very difficult, then it is a real job. But if a guy either is underrepresented in that field or doesn't want to do it, then that's not a real job. Because believe it or not, I've heard people say that teaching isn't a real job, or that childcare isn't a real job. And that's just interesting, because those are two fields that seem to be primarily dominated by women. Because by saying shut up, be grateful, your job is something either not a lot of people can do or a lot of people would love to do, you're opening up the door for certain people to be exploited. But many people would love to be an actor or actress. Many people would love to be on the WWE wrestling. Many people would love to be professional soccer players. And just because a job pays well and is desirable doesn't mean that the people who do those jobs are exempt from workplace harassment or just unsafe conditions. They're still workers at the end of the day. And people forget that. I think, number one, how vast and how many options you have, how many different things you could do for money that are considered work or jobs. And people also forget that, say for example, when musicians complain about not owning their masters, or when TV writers complain about only being paid a certain amount, and then there's the writer's strike that happens, you forget that yes, they have a job people would love to do and kill for, to be a showrunner, to be able to create your own show is something amazing that everyone would love. But that doesn't mean that the people at the very top need to just treat them hey, be grateful for this job that you have, this thing that not a lot of people get to do. Because I think it goes without saying how easy it is to open the door for exploitation. The idea that certain work isn't real just allows certain labor to be devalued, say again, in other more quote-unquote respectable industries like teaching, or is valid. If you're getting paid to do something, all work is valid. If you complain about workplace conditions in your industry and they're affecting you, that's also valid. And yes, keep humility and things in mind. If you are lucky and fortunate enough to have a career in entertainment in any form, I think Stavros said it best. No one deserves a career in entertainment. We're all very grateful and very thankful to be here. At the same time, you can still advocate for better conditions and say, when you're a writer only making a fraction, a percentage, a minimal percentage of what the studio heads are making, it's okay to advocate for yourself because you understand that your work is valuable. You can hold two ideas in your hand, or in your hands at the same time. On the one hand, my work is valuable and I need to treat it as such. And on the other hand, I'm incredibly grateful for what I have, and I can't wait to continue to do this. So basically, stop advocating to make the world better, because I think when we become complacent and we become afraid to speak out against things that we know are wrong, that's when shit hits the fan. Okay, I think this video is now done. Rambly little videos, and now I am going to the gym. Please answer in the comment section down below, what job is a real job? One that requires effort, is differentiated from your personal life, and pays your bills, must be all three. That's interesting. Someone else who was a model said, I would say any job that someone uses, anything is a job if you can do it to sustain your lifestyle. And that is a real job. Someone else said something consistent. That is a job. And then someone who was a lawyer said, getting paid to do something you would not otherwise do. That is a job.